Silent Grove's secret. In a village called Omuohia, hidden deep in the forests of Igboland, there was a place everyone feared, the Silent Grove. The village elders warned that this grove was unlike any other part of the forest. It was home to ancient spirits, and they did not welcome visitors. No one dared to go there, and even the bravest hunters stayed far from its edge. The Silent Grove was a place where not a single bird sang, not a leaf rustled, and no breeze blew. It was completely, unnaturally quiet. The village believed it belonged to Ani, the earth goddess, and only those who respected her could live peacefully near it. But one day, a young farmer named Nkem came to Omuohia. He was not born in this village, so he didn't fully understand the fear people felt about the grove. Nkem was a hardworking man who had recently lost his parents, so he moved to Omuohia to start a new life and work his family's small farmland. Unfortunately, things didn't go well. His yams withered, his crops failed, and his hard work seemed wasted. As the days passed, Nkem became desperate. He needed the land to grow so he could eat, trade, and survive. He heard the elders say that the Silent Grove was a place where the spirits could grant favors, if they chose to. One evening, when the sun was setting and the villagers were returning to their homes, Nkem decided to do something bold. He thought that if he made an offering to the spirits in the Silent Grove, perhaps they would help him. With trembling hands, he picked up a small basket filled with kola nuts, some palm wine, and a cloth his mother had made. He walked to the edge of the Silent Grove, his heart pounding as he took a deep breath. Ignoring the warnings that echoed in his mind, he stepped inside. As soon as he entered, he felt it. The air was thick, and a strange silence surrounded him, as though he had left the world of the living and stepped into somewhere forbidden. There, in the center of the grove, stood an enormous, twisted tree. Its roots spread across the ground like veins, reaching in every direction. The tree looked ancient, older than anything Nkem had ever seen. He knelt at the base of the tree, placed his offerings, and whispered, "Spirits of this place, please hear my prayer. I only wish for my crops to grow, to bring life back to my land. I give this offering in good faith." For a long time, nothing happened. Then, as he was about to stand up and leave, a voice seemed to rise from the ground itself. It was soft but powerful, like thunder hidden beneath the earth. "You come seeking favors from the spirits?" the voice asked. Nkem's heart raced. He whispered, "Yes. I seek only to save my land." The voice answered, "Once you take, you may never return. Do you understand this?" Nkem hesitated, but he nodded. "I understand. I will not come back." The voice was silent, and a strange warmth filled the grove. It was as if the spirits had accepted his offering. Nkem quickly left, feeling a strange sense of relief and hope. The next morning, he couldn't believe his eyes. His fields were alive, more fertile than he had ever seen. His yams were thick and healthy, and his palms bore more fruit than he could carry. Within weeks, Nkem became one of the most successful farmers in the village. People marveled at his crops and asked him for advice, but he kept his journey to the Silent Grove a secret. For a time, Nkem was content, his life filled with joy and prosperity. But as the months passed, curiosity began to eat at him. He wondered if he could go back, just once, to the Silent Grove. Perhaps the spirits would bless him again. He tried to ignore the thought, remembering their warning, but his curiosity only grew stronger. One evening, Nkem couldn't resist any longer. He gathered an even bigger offering, baskets filled with yams, fresh palm wine, and cloth. He told himself that with enough respect, the spirits would accept him again. When he entered the Silent Grove for the second time, he noticed something different. The silence felt heavier, almost as though it was watching him. Shadows seemed to gather around him, and the air was colder. He reached the ancient tree, set down his offering, and waited, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. After a long silence, the voice returned, but this time it was darker, sharper. "We warned you, Nkem," it said. Nkem's excitement turned to terror. I thought maybe you would bless me again." The voice grew louder, almost angry. "Once you take, you may never return. You have broken our trust." Before he could react, the ground beneath him trembled. The roots of the ancient tree began to shift, twisting and moving like snakes. They wrapped around his ankles, tightening as he struggled to pull free. He screamed, but the silence swallowed his cries. As the roots coiled around his body, he realized his mistake. He had taken without understanding the spirit's warning. He tried to plead, but the roots dragged him closer to the tree, wrapping tighter around his arms and legs until he could barely breathe. And then there was silence. Days passed, and the villagers noticed Nkem's absence. They waited for him to return, but as the days stretched into weeks, worry spread through the village. Finally, a few elders and brave villagers went to the edge of the silent grove, calling out for Nkem, though none dared to step inside. What they saw made their blood run cold. In the heart of the silent grove, they found the ancient tree. Its roots had grown even larger, twisting in strange shapes, and at its base lay Nkem's basket of offerings. There was no sign of him, only the roots, which now looked almost like hands grasping the earth. From that day on, the villagers knew never to return to the silent grove. They left offerings at its edge to honor the spirits, and they never spoke of Nkem again. But sometimes, on quiet nights, villagers claimed to hear faint whispers coming from the grove, a warning to those who dared listen. "Once you take,